Now, two of the world's superpowers are also the globe's top two economies, and they are intertwined like few others. Now, China and the United States appear closer than ever to a full economic breakup as their trade war intensifies. This month, US President Donald Trump raised baseline tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%. The Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, has come out all guns blazing in response. He is looking for closer ties with China's neighbourhood.
In China, the trade war with the US is being portrayed as a struggle against Western bullying, a test of Chinese resolve, and a battle that only the Communist Party can win. The trade war is the biggest political challenge facing China's paramount leader, Xi Jinping, since the COVID pandemic. Tactically, Xi is using the trade war as an opportunity. On this month's tour of Vietnam, Malaysia and Cambodia, Xi sold a vision of Beijing as a responsible power, willing to work with regional neighbours to offset the impact of US tariffs.
In the face of shocks to global order, we will stand against unilateralism and protectionism, and together we will safeguard the bright prospects of our Asian family.
China's economy faces strong headwinds. Industry is heavily reliant on exports to help the economy keep growing, and a trade war could lead to a crisis in manufacturing. Consumers are not spending money. China is grappling with a property crisis, soaring youth unemployment and massive government debt, all of which could lead to tensions and unrest. Short term, the threat to communist rule is not severe. Xi Jinping has already consolidated power around himself and is more powerful than any Chinese leader since founding father Mao Zedong. The party has been successful in running China, as it offers continued economic prosperity in exchange for authoritarian, non-democratic rule. But if the trade war stretches into months, sparking a much weaker economy and mass discontent, it could expose vulnerabilities in Xi Jinping's rule.
Well, DW Business reporter and China expert Clifford Coonan filed that report, and he joins us in the studio now. Clifford, how is Xi Jinping using this trade war to strengthen his position and to stay in power?
Well, you have to remember that the Chinese Communist Party is a revolutionary party. It established the People's Republic of China in 1949 after winning a war. And the concept in the communist pantheon is of struggle. It's called dozhong, and Xi Jinping has adopted this again recently in the great rejuvenation of China, which is what he's talking about. So in many ways, in political terms, this trade war is a gift to him because he can get people behind him, he can mobilize people. The Communist Party love that. It's something that they're very good at down the years, and it's a way of keeping the people behind them and keeping the people focused on the improvement of China. But in economic terms, it's a different question.
Now, China is also trying to extend the cooperation with regional neighbours. She just went on a trip to several of them last week. What does that mean for the global market?
Well, it's interesting because these are neighbours with whom China has a lot of differences, and with the trade political differences and territorial differences over. They all have claims to different territories, and there's been a lot of China trying to build too much influence in these countries. Then comes the trade war, and suddenly they're all competing. They're all trying to form a bloc. Xi Jinping wants to form a bloc because they're not going to be able to export as much to the US under the trade war. But at the same time, these political differences are there. So there's a sort of a difference between balancing the economic and the political here. And it's going to be a challenge because I think even though people do want some help in Vietnam, in Thailand, in Malaysia, and these countries in dealing with the US trade war, they're going to be struggling, though, to find common ground on a lot of other areas with China. So after that visit to Vietnam, Malaysia, he didn't really come away with any. They said there were, the optics were very good, but they didn't really come away with anything firm on how to deal with the trade war.
Now, if China's economy gets more and more weakened, unemployment rises, how much of a concern is that for a nation that is obsessed with keeping a lid of unrest?
Well, as you say, Gerhard, it's obsessed. It's built this incredible structure of surveillance in there. I mean, a few years ago, you would think that something like this, even a decade ago, something like this could have sparked quite a lot of unrest and things would be very difficult to monitor. But in the last decade, particularly, we've seen this surveillance system, this system of control, really, really step up. The technology is amazing. Most of China's great tech prowess comes out of developing this surveillance equipment. And one of the reasons that it needs these chips from the US, which are also a big part of the trade war, is that it wants to use them for its surveillance system. So I think that as long as he can, as long as they can keep a control of unrest, it won't be such a big issue for them. However, it's still going to be a problem because the economy is slowing down. There was the profits for private companies dropped 9% last month. So it's already starting to get in there, and once people, youth unemployment is always a difficult area for creating social unrest. There's a lot and the property crisis still hasn't been resolved. There's a lot of things for him to deal with. So it's going to be how he manages the political and the economic, and whether at home as well. Because if he can keep control of the unrest, but if the unrest is still there, longer term, it's very difficult to keep a lid on.
You reckon he will, briefly, if you can, with his neighbours, China's stance in terms of territory and foreign policy was very, very firm and quite aggressive. Do you think he'll tone that down, briefly, if you can?
I don't think he will. And I think that's why it's going to be very difficult for him to come to agreement with his neighbours. But for now, the optics are good.
Thank you very much. Clifford Coonan, DW Business.